Hey guys, it's Delora Davils with a book review. I read this one a couple of months ago. It is Demons and Spirits of the Land by Claude L. Let's go with L. This looks very French. I don't know French. Claude L. So first off, we're going to go through the table of contents. Part 1, A Haunted Universe. Part 2, Conquering and Defending the Land. Part 3, Survivals and Transformations. So, what the author does throughout this book, the word demon right here is a little bit more tongue-in-cheek, right? Because I saw the cover of this and I never really got into it. But then I asked my friend at the Cauldron, hey, what's a good book on land spirits? He was like, this is actually a really good one. I was like, I don't know if I like the word demon. And he goes, no, read the book. It's good. So the use of the word demon is very tongue-in-cheek here. And he talks about how people, Christians, came in and called these very powerful protective land spirits demons instead. So what he does is throughout this is a very European-centric book, but he uses folklore and tales, and even like there's a lot of references to medieval romances, because as the Christians were coming in and forcing their religion on all the pagans, they were also writing literature later on that reaffirmed the fact that Christian priests and things were the reason why all the land spirits went away. So like all of the pictures and paintings and stories of priests and saints killing dragons is a metaphor for them killing water spirits. Dragons were the most popular symbol for water spirits specifically. And the examples in the literature are very good examples. There were a lot of stories I'd never heard of before, and the way that they just kept repeating. So there was a lot of propaganda around this time against land spirits and spirits of the land. There were also certain rites that had to be undertaken when building a new house, right? You literally had to banish anything from your property and then put up not just a physical barrier around your property, but a spiritual one as well. Most often they were shallow trenches. So not super deep trenches, but trenches nonetheless. And yeah, I mean, there's tons more in here than that. I will say that this author is writing at an academic level. And so it can come off as a bit like, why would they use such big words? But you have to understand that this was written to be more academically minded. So the reading style, well, I should say the writing style, the writing style and the citing of sources and all of that is going to feel very academic. There were points in time where I found this book to be very dry and I had to take a break from it. But the information in this book is very interesting if you want to see how medieval folks in Europe viewed land spirits and the tales and stories that are still told to this day, because in the very last part 3, they talk about how those tales still live on in a different way, right? So a lot of these same stories are still told in certain areas, and I think that that is just absolutely just stunning. It is a stunning piece of academic work on very real entities, right? And I will also say that the last few paragraphs of each chapter is a summation of the chapter. So just like an academic paper or article, there is a conclusion at the end of each chapter. So if the chapter itself seemed very, very dry and you weren't sure where the author was going with the information that he was presenting you or what that information was supposed to synthesize into, read ahead to the last few paragraphs of that chapter and then reread the chapter. I had to do that several times because even though I have a bachelor's of English, this was pretty dry. And sometimes I would get to the end of the chapter, I'd be like, oh, okay. So then I just started reading the end of the chapters first. So yeah, all in all, it's a wonderful book. This isn't going to be a super long book review apparently either. This was done by Inner Traditions Press, Rochester, Vermont. So you can see the website there. What I like about the Cauldron, the Magic Cauldron in Houston, is that they really get a lot of books from a lot of different publishers. Overall, the quality of the book is very good. It's kind of one of their, shiny paperbacks. The paper in the book is very good because there are plenty of places where I have highlighted. The highlights don't go through the page. Love that. Love that. Let's see, what did I highlight? It is no longer the human beings who are establishing boundaries that will keep the spirits at bay. It is the fairy knight who is protecting himself from humans in this way. Right? So they don't just talk about how humans use these tactics magically to protect themselves from spirits, but how the spirits do the same thing. Right? Overall, this is just a beautiful book. But I also like that despite this book being academic and it being pagan, it doesn't really knock Christianity that much. Saint Malo, because he was one of God's elect and because he heeded a complete sacramental ritual, was able to appropriate the dangerous magic of the site and convert it into a divine virtue. In fact, the ritual uses an exorcism to defeat its land spirits, neutralize it, and thereby reintegrate the fountain into civilized Christian space. Henceforth, anyone could quench their thirst there without the fairies getting them, basically. The water that refused to allow itself to be drunk is a theophany. It displays the presence of a sacred power that is not that of Christians. So yeah, basically talking about how even Christians realized that there were powers out there that were unchristian, despite what Christians nowadays may think. The propaganda that they've been spilling for hundreds of years has finally worked, but back then, everyone still respected spirits of the land, knew that they existed, and knew that they existed outside of their Christian spaces and needed to be respected and feared. Nowadays, they don't. Sad face. But again, the big words and stuff, I hope that reading some of these things that I highlighted will give you an idea of the writing style of it, because I understand not everybody wants to read something that is so academically thick. But for me, it was an absolute treasure. I hope that if you guys give this book a try, or if you've already read it, please let me know down in the comments below what you thought of it and how you liked it. And until next time, happy dabbling and bye-bye.